Absolutely.
Fix their internet. Whatever.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our new year. It's been a whole year since I've last seen you. And we'll start right off today with the public comment, union comments. Any comments at all? At all, we'll move right on to the educational showcase with the Citra Business Solutions and Energy Performance. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Truckermill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So a couple of months ago, we had Centrica here. Project we were looking at and considering. So in the intervening months since they were last here, they've conducted their audit. They've been meeting with contractors and assembling the numbers, and so they're here this evening to kind of give you the results, which Mitch is going to spin in the best possible way he can, and then we'll give you an opportunity to have a discussion with them, and then obviously we'll have some board discussion later on. But this is Mitch Toombs. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent. Ryan, I don't remember Ryan.
Yeah, welcome.
Ben Larkham and Scott
Clark. Yeah.
Clark.
So first names, if you can keep track of. Yeah, we're on this side over here. And I think you guys have the presentation in front of you. So not too many slides. You won't bore you this time. Yeah. So again, good to see you guys. Good evening. As Greg just mentioned, last time you saw us was in August. We were presenting our preliminary findings. And since then, as he mentioned, we've been on campus quite a bit, putting together an engineering package, designs, actually almost up to 60% at this point. And the goal was to come back with a scope of work and firm fixed pricing that we could share with you to determine what you guys want to do moving forward. So we're able to do that. There's been some changes in scope, specifically around the boiler plant, which Ryan, the engineer, and Scott will get into. And then we'll probably spend a good chunk of time talking about the costing, because there's been some changes there as well. So we've got a couple options for you. We'll just jump right in. So go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. Thanks, Mitch. I'm going to run through the feasibility improvement language that we investigated during our IGA. This list should look fairly familiar. It's the same list that we looked at back in August during our PFA. As Mitch said, there were some scope changes. I'll get into them as we get into each measure. But I'll just run through the list real quick. Starting with interior lighting improvements, we performed a lighting audit of campus, and we did a line by line of all the non-LED fixtures, and we are proposing replacement of all non-LED with LED bulbs. It says fixtures, but mainly LED bulbs. I know the big driver for this was the National Grid incentive. We wanted to make sure that we got that locked in, which we're locked in. National Grid gave an additional 25% adder. So I believe we said it was 62 at PFA. We locked that in at about $82,000. So assuming it's complete by the end of the year, the college will get an incentive check for $82,000. Excuse me, the big measure here, and one of the biggest pain points for the facilities team on campus, is the steam plant. This is the item that has the largest amount of scope change. At PFA, what we had proposed was a like-in-kind replacement of the boilers. What we're calling it now is more of a central steam plant modernization to get everything up to the 21st century and beyond. What we're proposing is not just the boilers this time, but in addition to the boilers, we're going to be installing deaerator tank, surge tank, blowdown tank, control panels on the deaerator, the boilers, new electrical for the boilers. And we also worked alongside Train to get the boiler plant integrated into the control system, which it currently isn't. Also, chemical feed station. And we're also going to be recommissioning the outdoor air combustion fan that currently isn't working. The door in the basement is currently propped open. Purposes of that right now. But that'll get fixed as well with the steam plant modernization. Along with that, we have steam trap replacements. When we were on campus, we performed a steam trap audit. We determined that around 30% of all traps were either blown open or blown closed, or failed open or failed closed, which much steam loss. We're proposing replacement of all faulty steam traps by this. Also, looking at transformer upgrades, we're going to be replacing 12 transformers. During the IGA, we located 12 transformers. I believe the PFA, we had said 7, but we were able to locate 12. All 12 of those are being proposed to be replaced. Another pain point for facilities is the outdoor air cooled chiller that is located up on the classroom building. We are proposing the replacement of that outdoor unit. We are also working alongside Train to get a quote and scope to integrate that as well. It's currently on the control system, but it is in older controls language. So we're going to get that updated to back under Modbus. So that won't be an issue there on that one either. Another one, it goes along with the steam plant modernization, is pipe insulation. I know specifically in the library mechanical room, there's a lot of steam pipe that currently isn't insulated. And as Steve calls it on the facilities team, he calls it the hot room, because this time of year it gets real hot in there. What we determined when we did our trap audit was there's going to be about 58 linear feet of steam piping that needs to be insulated. And in addition to that, we're going to be putting on jackets or insulation covers on other mechanical items. Then last measure is the air handling unit refurbishment at the Welcome Center and the library. I do want to note this is a refurbishment, not a replacement. So as part of the refurbishment, they will be cleaning the coils as well as spraying a protective epoxy on the base of the air handling unit. So it'll be watertight. And as part of this, we'll be installing the flexible connectors on the multi-zone and on the library. Put your hand up next to it, it's leaking quite a bit, so that'll give some additional life to the air handling units.
Yeah. So this list, again, like Ryan said, should look familiar. It's everything we talked about we were gonna do, but the big, I guess, increase here is with the steam plant. There's a lot more being done there. It's a full overhaul, if you will. And it's needed. Maybe Scott, you can talk a little bit more about why just replacing the boilers versus doing the entire scope makes sense for them.
Yeah, so part of what we did when we did our preliminary feasibility assessment is we were on campus for, I don't know, call it a day and a half. During our IGA, we've been out here for, I don't know, more than a week and a half, multiple different visits, a number of engineers. We really were trying to take a comprehensive look at the system. That your boilers that are there now have been from 1967 or so. They've given you an excellent service life so far. We'd like to put in a similar system that's going to give you a similar service life. It doesn't make sense to try and do 1 or 2 components and then expect everything to have the longevity, because you're going to have something else that's going to fail or something else that's going to hamper that operation. Furthermore, it's something where to maintain the warranties on the new boilers that are going to be kind of the heart of the system, we have to take care of things like the feed water, the deaerator, and then also to meet code, we need things like incoming air that's actually going to be conditioned. We also have to reroute a couple of the other devices that are sharing the same flue stack. So right now there's a water heater that's piped in there as well as a backup generator. Under the current codes, they're not allowed to share the same flue stack. So there's a couple of little things, all of which they add up into big things by the end, but they're all necessary to modernize this system and make it something that's going to be reliable and not continue to dog the facilities team. So having this really is a comprehensive overhaul. We do have some engineering stuff we can share for anybody that wants to get into that later on. I know that's probably a little boring for most folks here. I'll nerd out on it, but for everybody else, it's comprehensive enough to know that we've really captured a lot of the stuff that should significantly help out here. So,
yeah. So again, as we get into the pricing, the first option will be everything here. And the goal was coming into this was we were hoping to get all this fit in to cover this under an energy performance contract with the savings from the lighting and some of the other measures. We'll pay for it over a certain amount of time with some contribution from the college. The college is going to contribute about $1 million up front. As we get into the pricing, you'll see that that's not enough to get everything done. It's not paying back within, the 15-year term that we were shooting for. So we've got some options here. We can decide whether you need to find more capital to get everything done, or if we bypass doing the boiler plant and do everything else, because it will fit into the payback. The boiler plant does need to get done. Scott and his team have done a lot to keep that boiler plant running. At this point, there's not a whole lot more they can do. So if you don't do it now, it's gonna have to be done very, very soon later. And I would, also recommend, or also say that, if there is an emergency, which is likely with this, it's gonna cost a lot more to handle that. You've got to bring in emergency boilers. The costing's gonna go up. The cost we have here, and I'll go down it, is a planned approach. We've got it quoted out by multiple subcontractors, vendors. This is us planning to replace it this summer, so this pricing is good. When you do it out as an emergency, the pricing goes up significantly. You could be looking at double the cost. So I'll go through this. So it's just short of $5 million to do everything. The rebate, like Ryan mentioned, is just over $88,000. We've got that currently locked in for the college. So as long as it gets installed, mainly the lighting, that's going to come back to you guys, and we'll just take it off the portion of the project that you have to pay for. The capital contribution of $1 million, that's factoring in each county contributing $250,000 and the state matching it, which, Greg has done a good job to kind of get that in line. So then the rest of the contribution the rest of the amount would be just over 3.8 million. The annual utility savings, which again, with these types of jobs, we would use to ultimately pay back the lease over time, is just over $105,000 of real savings. Annual maintenance savings of $8,000. There's likely going to be more savings there, but we were pretty conservative with that. We're estimating an interest rate of financing this somewhere between 4% and 5%. So we use 4.25%. Right now, this is beyond a 25-year payback or term. So it's not financeable the way it is currently. The bank is offering about a 15-year term, which is pretty typical for these types of jobs because the equipment's got to still have a useful life through that term. We've seen them go out to 20 years. So we're shooting for 15 years. So in order to get it to 15 years, this contribution here would have to be closer to just over $3 million. So quite a jump. And we're aware of that. And the big change here is the boiler plant. That's really the bulk of that. Everything else came in pretty much where we thought it was going to come in. The boiler plant is the large part of that increase there. So this is what we're calling option one. Again, currently the way it's sitting, it's not financeable. There's got to be some determination whether more capital comes into it or if we take some scope out. So then we can pivot to option two here, Brian. So option two, this is everything but the boiler plant. So you can see, a lot more attractive. Full investment just short of $2 million. Rebates are remaining the same because the lighting is in there. The steam traps are in there. So those rebates are locked in. Capital contribution of $1 million is perfect. So then the investment after that is just short of $800,000. The savings drops a little bit, but you can see most of the savings is still there because the lighting, the transformers, the steam traps, which is driving the savings of the job, are still in scope. Maintenance savings is a little bit less because the maintenance was coming from the boiler plant. Interest rate being the same as before, you're looking at a payback of 10 years. So very financeable. We've already got approval to finance a job like this, but it's not fixing one of the biggest things that you guys need to fix on campus. So, this is an option certainly, and it does address the chiller. It does address the steam traps. It helps with the air handling units. It gets all the lighting done. It does update a lot of things you guys need to have done on campus, but it doesn't get it all done. So we wanted to show both those. One is, can be financed, and the other one currently can't be financed. So that's, I don't think do we have another slide, Ryan? I was going to say that's the bulk of it. I mean, at this point, it's really kind of a financial conversation around what does the college want to do? You guys want to invest now into updating the infrastructure, specifically the boiler plant, and have it be a planned approach to get done along with everything else. Again, our pricing, we went out to 5 subcontractors. We talked to multiple vendors. We're product agnostic. So we've got this fully designed, ready to be built, going into 2026. If the boiler plant gets taken out, then obviously that's something that the college would have to address later on. We can do everything else, but that would have to be addressed later on. And that would really be on you guys then we'll give you what we've done, but it would be on you to take it and then do your own, vetting, bidding, and putting in that all together, which is us doing it for you.
comes in the off-ramp. So if they decide not to do it.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess the third option, which we didn't show, is if you decide to not do anything, that's fine. I mean, we have a breakup fee and we ultimately have to get paid for the engineering that we provided. It's not a lot of money. It gives you the engineering that we've done. I think it's like $40,000 based on the agreement that we have. So you do have that option as well. And then you guys can take what we provided and decide what you want to do with it at that point. So.
So if you just did the boiler room itself, what was the cost of that?
So if you do the boiler room itself, it's just over $3 million, but there's no savings. There's not enough savings to it'd be a capital project. So it'd be no different than you doing everything else because you're paying the same amount out of pocket, but you're getting more done if you do everything because you have the savings paying for the rest. So the boiler plant by itself is, I think it's a 157-year payback, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's necessary because the equipment needs to be replaced. You need heat on campus. But the savings isn't really there to help pay it back over a certain amount of time, which is why it's hard to fit it in. We looked at doing the boilers and just the lighting, and that's an option too. But you're still having to contribute over $2.5 million if you were to do that. And then you still have everything else that you still need to get done on campus as well. So
The LED lighting, that includes the, I don't know, do we have the parking lot LEDs right now?
Yep, so I will say our savings number that we have includes some of the lights that you just replaced in the gymnasium, that those were already done. Obviously, there's no cost for that. We are capturing some of those savings. And as you consider what options you may have, that lighting rebate is locked in as long as things are installed by October. So that is something where if really that is the option that everyone wants to look at, we can try and take a look at, hey, what would this take to be a lighting and transformer project? Obviously, you can leverage those savings to help pay for other things. So option 2 here, we're trying to look at the idea of paying for your chiller before its lifetime is done by really helping fund it with those one-time lighting savings in that rebate.
Yep.
So it's something good to capture. Obviously, it's a lot of options, but it's something where we also want to make sure we're going to be delivering a project that's going to be here for a long time to serve the rest of the college, rather than the cheapest sort of thing that you can find and put in that will work. But we need it to last as long as you're expecting the rest of your equipment to last. So
yeah, this option here would be ideal if your boiler plant wasn't in need of replacement, because it really does a good job taking care of everything else you need and gives you a good payback. For $1 million up front, you're getting everything done. If you were to do that yourself out of pocket, it's going to be a lot more than $1 million. You're probably getting the chiller replaced and maybe some of the lighting, if you're paying $1 million. If you do it this way and using the savings, you're getting a lot more done for that money. So, we wanted to get the boiler plant fit in where it was paying itself back. It's just, there's a lot more there, and the costs are the costs at this point. And they're certainly not going down. They're kind of going up at this point as well. So that's something to also keep in mind.
Any questions?
Ouch.
fair statement.
Jack, I heard you were going to pay for all this.
I wish I could start doing bake sales. A lot of them.
Yeah, it's good information to have. And these are real numbers. These are buildable numbers. So these are, engineered numbers that we think we can build. These are, full numbers that we have subcontractors ready to go if you guys say go and you want to have it done this year. So.
And no cost overruns, right? When we sign a
Right.
contract?
Yep. Firm fixed, locked in. So there would be no change orders. Everything we have is locked in the scope, design, and everything that's been done up front.
All right. Well, thank you. It's stuff we'll discuss.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. I know first thing coming back in for the new year, we appreciate you guys giving us the time to stand up here.
Santa Claus didn't put that money in my stock. There's a little bit of color. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Guys.
Have a good night.
Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, good Mark.
We'll talk a little bit more about this in Jim's report. So we'll continue on with the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 18th. I have a motion to approve the minutes. I have a motion by Mike, seconded by Dan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none. We'll move on to reports. Chair's report. First and foremost, we're going to change the meeting date in May from the 21st to the 14th because of the awards ceremony, and the 21st conflicts with the golf tournament, and also on the 15th, the day after the meeting, we'll have our graduation as well. So keep that in mind. Then some happy notes. Governor Hochul vetoed the Bill 5979A, which would have allowed for a faculty member to sit on the board. So that's good news. NYCCT did a lot of work in a lot of the community colleges, counties that are involved with sponsoring. Also did some calling and stuff, so that worked out well. If anybody's interested, on January 26th from 5:30 to 7:30, they're going to have the Chancellor King is going to have a Friends of SUNY reception. If anyone wants to go, see me and I'll get you the invitation sent to me, but I feel it should go to all the board members. Educational advocacy was on the 14th. I did not attend that. I was busy doing something else. On NYCCT is having a lobby day on February 4th at the Capitol. There'll be a Zoom meeting held prior to that, and then they'll be at the Capitol lobbying for community colleges, if anybody's interested for that. And if anyone wants to go to Washington, DC, NYCCT is having a legislative breakfast at the Marriott in Washington, DC. So see everybody raising their hand, but nobody wants to go. Other than that, that's about all I have on the president's report, or the chair's report rather. Move on to the president's report with Dr. Truckermiller.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're less than a week away from the start of the spring semester, and so far the numbers are looking good. They can change, but we're 15% up in FTE for the spring semester, which is nice. We had a strong fall semester, so it's good to see that momentum carrying through. And I'm sure Arlene and Wendy are going to talk about some of the events that have been going on to support that. I know that the chair attended the State of the State address. Just a few highlights as they pertain to community colleges. The governor talked about expanding the Reconnect program to really this means adding more programs, which is something that we've been requesting because right now we have 9 programs that are eligible for that program. They're looking to expand the number of programs. And for those fields like nursing, which is already eligible, they're looking at adding an option for people who have a college degree in something else but are interested in nursing. So right now, as it's written, you can't have a college degree for the Reconnect, but if what she's proposing is that if you're interested in pursuing nursing, they'll consider. All of this is subject to negotiation and final approval of the state budget, but she is looking to double the Empire State Service Corps from 500 students to 1,000 students, and we have 15, not that many, somewhere 14 here on our campus. You want to just, I know we've talked about it before, just talk a little bit about what that program is.
Yeah, it's an opportunity for our students to get paid doing some support for I think there are 6 areas on the campus, basic needs, for example. So if they help with our food pantry or with our Reggie's Closet, mental health and total well-being of students. So there's some students who are Empire State Service Corps students who work with our mental health facilitator, counseling center, and just to help with other activities on campus. There's a K through 12 component, so some students tutor or work with students in the local school districts. And there's a couple of other areas. Veteran support, so we have a couple of students work with our veteran students. It's a great opportunity. Students can simultaneously, they may qualify for AmeriCorps funds as well as for Empire State Service Corps funds. And they get a little bit higher. It's not much, but it's a little bit higher than minimum wage. And it gives them good professional experience. So it's more than a college work study job, for example. So it's really been helpful, I think, to the students and to some of the offices that they've been affiliated with. It's really, one of the main ones is the FAFSA Corps, that these are students who are peers who help other students complete their FAFSAs, because we know that a lot of students leave the financial aid on the table. They don't apply for it because they get confused. And so by having other students mentor them through the process, that's been very, very successful.
Charlie. The governor also talked about increasing investment in internships and other experiential learning opportunities. That's been a hot topic lately, and Pat's been working on that with some of his team. She highlighted the emergency aid funds, which we received here. We were one of the campuses selected from that. That was at least funded in part by the Gates Foundation this year. And Leslie will be working on, getting some additional funds for that. Also, when it comes to community colleges, they're looking to implement reforms on the certificate of residency process. For those of you who aren't aware, students have to provide us with a certificate of residence if they are not from Fulton or Montgomery County. That's where the chargeback process comes in, for those of you who are familiar with that. So if you come from Schenectady County, for example, Schenectady County gets a bill from us that is for a portion of that tuition. If you do not provide a certificate of residence to us or any other community college, you are charged double tuition. That's the way that's configured. We don't have that happen a lot. It does happen, but it doesn't happen a lot. But they're looking to reform that process to make it easier for students to attend. And this is the second in a phase of reforms. A few years ago, we used to require every student to provide a certificate of residence, and then we changed that to students who didn't reside in the 2 counties, or provide some proof of residence, not necessarily a certificate. If you brought in a utility bill that showed that you were from county, but anyway. So those are the community. There's some additional SUNY related highlights, but those are the community college bullet points from the State of the State address. And so we'll watch to see how that transpires. We are still working through the audit, and Pat and I haven't had much discussion about this, but as you recall, we did have some consultants that we had hired to help us. We have ended that relationship. It was not productive, and so we met recently with the auditors. We're on a revised timeline. Ordinarily, we'd like to bring the audit to you in March. It'll probably be April, possibly May. I hope it's not May, but we're on a little slower track than we ordinarily would be. The FCA audit is complete. They'll be voting on that at their next board meeting. Foundation audit is close. We'll have that for the next foundation board meeting, which is March. So we're moving along, just not at the pace that we're accustomed to. So I'm happy to answer any questions from anyone.
you have any questions for the president? Yeah. We'll move on to student trustee reports. Student trustees not here tonight. So foundation report with Leslie Lancy.
Mr. Chair, I just have a couple of highlights. The annual appeal, which I reported when I wrote the report, because of some larger contributions, had reached 95,000. That is earmarked towards the turf fields. We had great participation from both boards. I'd like 100%. That would be great. And we have a new gallery opening, which will be coming soon at the end of January. I'll let everyone know as soon as that comes to me. That concludes.
Do you have any questions for Leslie? If not, thank you, Leslie. We'll move on to finance with Steve Beck.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing us up to date on the audit, Dr. Truckermiller. Any questions? I know you all read the 17-page report that came in our package. And if you have any questions for that Dr. Truckermiller can probably answer on that, I'll certainly entertain them. Other than that, I didn't see anything that really stood out at the beginning of the year. So that's
Yeah, I mean, the trends are all where we expect them to be.
exactly. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Beck. We'll move on with buildings and grounds with Trustee Landrio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Greg and I spoke in length today about the proposal, which I'll sat there amazed here. And there's a couple things that were discussed that I think the board should be aware of. First of all, it's a monumental task to try to reach this first proposal. And there may be some merit that the equipment has to be replaced, but financially, we're not in a position to enter in such an agreement. Brings us to proposal number 2, which is a little bit more helpful. But on this proposal, things that we discussed at length, we have a $1 million contribution. That's each county given 250, which turns into $500,000, and then the state matches it. That's how we get our $1 million. Greg has an opportunity to go back to the Finance Committee of Fulton County. And we thought maybe we could kind of see what their appetite is if we put this off for about a year or maybe 2, and then see if they would be willing to give us another 250, and then that becomes a match, and that becomes another $1 million. So looking at $2 million going into the second proposal. Now, what are our chances? We don't know. But I think at this particular point, and it's the board's decision, certainly not mine. I'm just here to give you as many facts as possible along with Greg. But I think that may be more doable. At least we would kind of chip away at the list. Fulton County has never been in the position that hold money. It's always been, you don't use it, you lose it. But we're thinking that, you know, it's worth a shot, and it's worth a discussion. So unless the board has any objection, I would like to withdraw the motion that we had prepared to vote on this and open it up for discussion and give our president some guidance in how you all feel.
Well, if we don't use option 2, we lose $40,000. You know, I mean, the price of stuff is just going to keep going up. I'd really like to replace the boilers from what they're saying and understanding some of the heating systems. I know it's not feasibly possible for us to do that unless Fulton County and Montgomery County and the state open up their wallets big, but they're not gonna do that. So, that would be my thought. My thought would be if, Dr. Truckermiller and could go back to the different finance committees and talk to them and see if we can get more money for option 2.
Are these guys gonna wait around for 2 years?
No, it wouldn't be 2 years. It'd be this year. We
I
have,
thought you said 2 years. I'm sorry.
I did say 2 years. We hadn't got that far yet. But they do stand to recoup some money. I mean, that would be the art of negotiation, I guess, that we, right, Greg? I mean,
Yeah, so I mean, we're actually talking about two different things. Option 2 doesn't require you to do anything differently. We have the commitment from the counties. We have the approval from the finance company. We can pursue option 2 now. What Jim and I talked about is understanding that we don't have the $3.3 million of capital match that they're looking for to do that whole project. Other options include, and you asked a good question, Mr. Chair, when you asked how much for the boiler plant. You know, the other things are nice things to do, and they were designed to help finance this. But if we're abandoning that project, the energy performance contract, you can look at it a different way. Because you can look at it as, you know, if our priority is replacing the central boiler plant, which is how we started this whole conversation in the first place. And you're not concerned about the energy performance savings and so on, we don't have to do the lights. We don't have to replace the light fixtures. We don't have to replace the chiller at this point. The chiller went through a refresh 6 years ago. Not that that's going to mean anything other than, you know, because we've continued to sink money in it even after that. But we can approach the counties about getting to that $3 million mark. So we know that we have the $1.5 million at the state already. It's assigned to other projects, but we can sweep that into a project like this. So what we're really talking about is getting to a $1.5 million at a minimum match from the counties. They've each committed 250 so far. To get to that 1.5 million, obviously we have to look to next year or ask them to open up their wallets this year. I mean, Jack can tell us give us the odds on that with Fulton County. Yeah. So, you know, then it becomes a question, and Jim mentioned this. It historically, if we did not complete a project or pursue a project in a given year, the question was always pushed back to us. Well, if you haven't done that, why do you need more? So we're not eager to spend another $250,000 if you haven't demonstrated to us you can spend the last $250,000. Now, this is different because we're talking about a specific, and really, you know, it's not that we don't want to spend the money. It's that $250,000 from each county doesn't get us a boiler. We need, you know, $750,000 from each county to get the boiler. And
Where are we going to be at some point without getting the boiler?
right, so we're at a catastrophe. So, and you know, then I believe, I can't confirm this, but I believe that the counties would act at that point. It's going to be incredibly more expensive than if they were proactive. But again, I look to my friend and former supervisor over there who can speak to the appetite for, you know, the county supervisors to be proactive on those sorts of things.
Well, I don't think they've ever turned you down.
They've never turned us down. But we've not asked them for, you know,
This kind of money.
this kind of money. The last time that the counties gave us more than that, you know, relatively, and I'm not complaining about the $250,000, was, you know, the mid-90s. And that was the, you know, that's when they did the $14.2 million capital project, and both counties bonded for it, and that's the last time that they bonded for a project for us. And it's been, you know, when we've discussed larger scale projects, it's always been, we can't commit to that.
Until they have no choice.
Right.
Until we had no heat, until.
Right. And I firmly believe that if the boilers stopped working, both counties would step up. As a local taxpayer, I'm disappointed in that decision because it's going to cost them more to react to an emergency than it is to, you know, be proactive.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
Do we have any coverage, boiler coverage or any insurance that would cover?
I mean, we have our general liability insurance. We don't have,
Sometimes,
Like warranty services?
we have
It
one,
can't be under warranty.
would be under warranty, but sometimes you can have coverage.
I mean, we don't have an insurance policy on the boiler. We have.
Right, no, this would be.
We have a maintenance contract that, you know, provides
Just on my understanding.
routine repairs. Yeah.
Not being an expertise in any of this, I guess I, as a trustee, look for a strong recommendation from either the building committee or the president as to which direction I should be looking at.
So I think in order for us to do that, in order for me to do that, and Jim and I talked about this earlier today, we just got this information. So if I'd received this information a month ago, I could have had conversations with others and created, you know, viable alternatives. Right now, you know, we've got the sticker shock of this is, you know, 3 times as expensive as what they were projecting back in August.
Yeah.
So, you know, my suggestion to Jim was that, you know, the next finance committee's in about a week and a half, 2 weeks actually from today. And have a conversation with them and see where they want to go and not force them into making a decision either, but they don't know about this right now. They've endorsed the plan that we all endorsed in August, which was essentially we need to find out if this is feasible. What we found out is it's not. So now with that information in hand, what is the pleasure of the counties? You know, how do they want us to approach this?
I'm more than willing to go with you.
Happy to have you there, Jack. You know, because I think it's not fair to say that they're not willing to help us because they don't know the circumstances. They may.
We have to be proactive with a plan. We just can't go with the what ifs.
Correct.
But we need to have a actual.
Yeah, I agree with you, Pat. I think that, you know, that there are several facts. Right now, the boilers work. We know that boiler 2 can no longer be repaired. So if boiler 2 goes down, we will be down to 1 boiler, which is, you know, we do have a centralized plant, so it serves the entire campus with the exception of this building. So one boiler isn't going to do a sufficient job for the long term or if it's cold.
So if we look to remove the motion from the floor, the resolution.
We're just
We're just table it. Then that gives us the opportunity to look into all of the other things that you've just been bringing forth.
Correct. It allows us to have the conversations that we need to have with the sponsors that will better inform whatever decision we make going forward. If they just say, you know what, roll the dice and, you know, take your chances and come to us if there's an emergency. Well, then we can talk about option 2. And do we just proceed with option 2 and, you know, accomplish a bunch of other things that will be nice to have, but we weren't necessarily thinking about when this whole process started because the genesis of this was, we know that the boilers are on their last legs. They're 60 years old and they've exceeded their life, and how do we address that? And we were, this company was referred to us by John Stead.
Right. So they understand this company.
Natural gas or fuel oil?
Natural gas.
Natural gas?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, but what maybe National Grid might be willing to throw something into this.
So this project is in concert with National Grid. So unfortunately,
There's hardly any money.
so
For the boiler.
right.
It's all in the electrical light.
That almost all of the rebates that
It's not
National
very-
Grid is providing are related to the lighting and not to the boiler. We can look at other options too, like, does NYSERDA still have any money out there? Unfortunately, NYSERDA isn't interested in funding traditional heating and cooling methods. They want,
State of the art.
sustainability, green energy types of things.
Natural gas is green energy.
You know what I mean?
They want, what's the
Heat pumps.
one that's in the ground?
Geothermal.
Geothermal.
There was a company that did they sponsored the conference. And I think they were like a heating and cooling company. They did certain kind of for the NYSQCT conference that we had in September.
So,
I spoke to the guy.
So again, this can be part of this information gathering that we do. I've mentioned to Centrica, when they dropped this bomb on us earlier, that, we can't make a decision this week. It's just not possible. And of course, they're chomping at the bit. And so if ultimately we decide to pursue a different option, we have to write a check out to them for engineering services provided. It isn't a complete loss. It's not, in the grand scheme of
They
things.
certainly provided us with information.
And it's usable information,
Yeah.
even going to the next step as well. So, that's option 3, if you will, is,
Do
just
nothing and pay them 40.
pay
Right.
them their fee
Mhm.
and move on.
so let me ask another question that may be of help. They mentioned that we're in code violation.
That's if you replace things.
Replaced?
Yeah.
Okay, so as it stands right now, we're not. So the door being open is not in code violation.
Well, you're basically grandfathered in until you make a change.
All right, what about our insurance? Would we get a lesser premium if we went to a new system? Because we would be more in compliance?
Well, if we don't have it covered, so they don't care.
No,
So,
but I mean, if the boiler room burned down for some reason or whatever, would the insurance be?
Yeah, I don't know that it would be
It was the cost
Significant?
savings there. Yeah.
possibly, but would it be significant? I doubt it. I mean, in order for us to be insured and also to run that boiler plant, it has to get inspected a couple times a year. And, so it's
I'm just
it's
looking at
in
all the,
compliance.
I'm looking at all the options for an argument
Yep.
for replacement.
Yeah.
That was the ultimate goal, was to replace the boilers to begin with,
Absolutely. I mean, it's,
and the other stuff was just, icing on the cake. Like the utility, I mean, we've got to use, if we're going to do something with the lighting, we have to do it by October. That's when their program ends, so.
yeah, and again,
Rebate.
in the grand scheme of things, you're talking about 90 grand. Which I can't believe I'm saying that's an insignificant number, but I am, because again, if you're taking advantage of that whole program, remember that for the next 10 years, you're paying it off. And so it really kind of eliminates that 90 grand when again, those are nice things to do. And if we were going to do everything, makes sense. But if you can't afford to do everything like that, then I think we need to consider what's our priority and where do we focus our resources?
And who's to say they won't come out with a rebate program?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those things, I don't think it disappears. I think it
They tell you it is and then somehow. they
just is
magic-
scary to get on that one and then.
Yep, it's similar to the.
But the prices keep going up on everything between the tariffs and the cost
That's
of,
why they
cost
do
of
these
things.
plans. To entice people.
Certainly isn't anything we can put on the back burner. So the plan of going ahead, meeting with the counties, getting a plan, at least that's some action to be taken now so that we're not just sitting and waiting and see whether the boiler goes down or whether we get a gift of $10 million.
Yeah, and this industrial grade audit, as they call it.
Right.
This was, first of all, was really intended to be done by October and it took much longer than we anticipated. And the whole purpose of this was to let us know, because we already know, and it's already identified, it was identified in our last facilities master plan that it's a ticking time bomb that needs to be addressed. So this was step one of really approaching it, knowing it was a big number. Now that we know it's a really, really big number, now we need to go back and have more conversations with our county partners and see what their appetite is.
Yep.
And then next month, we may not even be able to make a decision next month, but just because of the timing of everything, I mean, I think, next Montgomery County Committee meeting will be right around the time of our next trustee meeting. So it may be March before we're able to have an informed conversation about this. So
There's no ARPA money tucked away anywhere?
we do not have any.
Yeah.
That's a question for, again, our county partners, but I think they've essentially spent.
You got any?
They've
That's
used
the way, Dan.
Montgomery County.
Montgomery doesn't use it.
And I think
That's totally gone.
Fulton County has committed theirs to various projects. So again, the next conversation is with Fulton County Finance. That's at the end of this month. And we'll also, assemble. Jim has asked me some additional questions about the approach to replacing the centralized plant. So we've got some more work to do. And we'll bring you as you requested, some options and some recommendations that have more solid information behind them.
And I think finding out if they would earmark their 250 for a few years, we have to answer that question because we don't know if they won't do that.
Correct.
If we don't know, they might look at that favorably all of a sudden and say, yeah, you know what, that might work better for us too, to kind of know that we have a couple years and, we don't know that. It's another question mark.
They've done something similar with paving. I mean, they have broken it up into discrete projects so they can walk away at any moment, but we have about a 3-phase project with paving. Now, admittedly, paving's a different story because we can pave one lot and not pave another lot. You can't replace half a boiler. And part of the problem too is because of the age and the system, we could address certain components. I mean, he alluded to that, but didn't fully, he didn't spend a lot of time talking about it. There are things that we could do. It's just a question of, do you want to invest in that? Because it won't work. If you buy a new deaerator tank, it isn't necessarily going to be that works with our current boiler. It isn't necessarily going to be compatible with the next gen boiler that you would replace. So then, do you spend $500,000 on that?
Because they're becoming more efficient every day. All right. Jim, is anything else? Any other questions? Those guys have got their work cut out. So we'll move back to student trustee report. Sinead.
Thank you. Appreciate everyone waiting for me. Well, we've had 2 weeks, no anybody in the school, and all students have been off. We return on the 21st, orientations on the 20th. Last night there was a meeting for the lobby day that we're going to. So I'll be going. I know our president, our student president, Jordan, will also be attending for the student senate. They're going to, so there's a lot of people are going to go in. They're going to have, you know, a one pager. Everything should be ready for. They're going to have like 3 different groups, probably separated with depending on how many student government shows up as well, involved in the group. And you know, and then there's also going to be a evening, like a get together afterwards. But I don't know what the pager is going to be at, what they're asking for. So that should be ready within a week, they said. And I look forward to it. Looks like fun. Today we had Trio come in, like people came in for Trio to help students get prepared for the new semester. There's been a bunch of tours on campus still, like we've had, like today I did Schoharie, there's been a few others. Yeah, so we're just all preparing and looking for a new semester. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions? If not, I do want to move back to buildings and grounds for a second. There was a motion, and do I have a motion to table that motion? So moved. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Motion's tabled. Now we'll move on to academic affairs with Mr. Wilson, Trustee Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Grande, for providing the information to me. Here's the highlights of the report. Academic Affairs is happy to welcome 3 new faculty members for the spring semester. Darcy Bromley, Caleb Brooks in nursing, and Richard Capeless in mathematics. The Student Nurse Association donated needed items to the Rob Constantine Center for the 2nd year in a row. The Business and Community Partnerships team received a recertification by NICEAD for the Home Health Aid Program and would like to highlight 4 of their recent successful collaborations. Josiah Rivera completed a 360-hour internship at St. Andrews Heating and Cooling as part of his HVAC certificate and was hired full-time. That's wonderful. Alexandria Schrom completed a 135-hour internship with the Fulton-Montgomery Regional Chamber of Commerce as part of her computer information systems role and was hired full-time. That's wonderful as well. Tyler Downey, who completed a 135-hour internship in media arts and digital technology with Townsend Leather, was hired full-time. Jaylene Cintron, for completing her 360 hours of COCAL in veterinary assistant with Dove Creek Animal Hospital and Glove City's Animal Hospital and was hired. Excuse me. Associate Dean of Academic Affairs, Pamela McCall, attended the Smart Scholars Advisory Board meeting at Amsterdam High School to discuss programming and recruitment and the EOP Directors meeting at SUNY Administration, which focused on recruitment and the importance of implementing high-impact practices for EOP students. That concludes my report.
Okay, do we have any questions for Trustee Wilson? If not, we'll move on to student affairs with Trustee Perry.
Alrighty, here are some of our highlights. We've heard classes are going to begin next Wednesday. Student orientation will be the day before. Admissions counselor Teresa Musson and Associate Dean of Enrollment Management John Ramuska attended the CTE Works Classroom to Career Exploration event in the Saratoga City Convention Center on December 18th. There was a total of 1,500 plus students from around the Kepler region, grades 8 through 12, that were bused to the event to learn about career opportunities and direct work college pathways throughout the day. By the end of last semester, the food pantry had 234 visits. With these visits, 896 items left the pantry. Multiple donations were made to the pantry during this month from both community members and staff. Over $400 was donated to the Raiders Relief Food Pantry by Sandy Maseka, a foundation board member and a member of the Elizabeth Cady Stanton and AUWW Book Club. The SUNY Electronic and Information Technology Accessibility Grant application was completed on December 15th for $10,000. Support services requested were made for accessibility, web, and digital content to purchase software that provides accessibility auditing and monitoring. Additional purchase requests were made for Read Speaker Solutions, web reader, 8 licenses for MathPix productivity tool, and Dragon naturally speaking speech recognition software in support of our efforts to meet the federal compliance deadline of April 24th of this year. And the full report is in our packet if you want to read more. That is my report.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Trustee Perry? If not, we'll move on. Diversity, equality, and inclusion. You can read it in your packet. Sustainability, again, read it in your packet. Accreditation, Dan?
Just a couple items to report on. The first one being the ongoing strategic plan development, the strategic planning process. Before the committee left for the break at the end of the year, they developed a framework for some draft goals and draft objectives. So in that time, I and the co-chair have developed some actual draft goals and objectives. The committee is going to meet again on Friday, January 23rd, to begin discussing those draft goals. We will have draft goals available for the board to see in February. Kind of dovetailing on that strategic planning process, we're also getting ready, the campus is getting ready to do the community college survey of student engagement, the SESI. That will happen in April. And then along with that survey, that student survey, we're doing the companion faculty survey as well, which will help us focus or use the information in surveys as part of the strategic planning process, and hopefully will identify some potential initiatives. And like I said, with the strategic planning process, further some goal development around staff development and teaching practices. Staff development is an element of the strategic plan that's being developed. Just a couple things on the Middle States side of things. Middle States is in the process of revising their standards. So I attended a listening session earlier in the month to get an idea of what those revisions may look like. They are making some revisions around the standards to reflect current trends, if you will, in transfer credit, student mobility, campus and student safety, information security, student success, high impact practices, academic integrity, institutional planning, and workforce development. And many of those things that Middle States has identified are also areas that are being considered and will be reflected in our strategic plan. So a lot of these things that we're working on from an accreditation and an assessment, institutional effectiveness standpoint are kind of dovetailing together and, try to make a cohesive strategic plan that is that the campus can follow, that kind of coincides with many of the other plans that the college is working on, and kind of align those goals to kind of keep everything moving in the same direction. So other than that, just a couple routine things with Middle States, the annual institutional update. We'll have a data refresh this month, so we just need to verify that's IPED's data and just verify that that data is accurate. And then during the month, we'll also be collecting the financial documents that Middle States requires as part of that annual institutional update. So happy to answer any questions if I can.
Thank you, Dan. Move on to personnel with trustee McMahon.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The full report's in your packet. Just a few things to note. It's been somewhat quiet, personnel. That's probably typical of the beginning of the year and the holidays. But there are several things in progress as far as filling vacancies. Those titles are student services, student success services, academic advisor, trio, which is in progress. Director of dual enrollment is in progress. Controller also in progress. And the vice president for administration and finance is in the planning stages. So, and no litigation, no arbitrations. So that's good. So, any questions for me?
Any questions for trustee McMahon? If not, thank you. And we'll move on to policy with trustee Collins.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I think I missed the update that we had last month, but today we have no updates.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Questions? Have a motion. Any other business to be brought before the committee?
Chair, just like to announce that the Montgomery County Executive is having his State of the County address here. I believe it's here on the 19th of February, which is our next meeting date at 9:00 in the morning. So nice that he's using the college.
It was a nice turn.
We have to come here twice.
Yeah, they came last year.
I'll be here.
Stay all day.
Right. We're all
At the
invited.
library.
Okay, any other business? If not, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Trustee Wilson, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, hearing none. Thank you all for coming tonight.
Here.